Good morning. I was sitting upstairs this morning having my coffee and doing a little bit of journaling in one of my new favorite journals. And a lot of very interesting tools came through that are not currently being used by genealogists or military researchers. Maybe not even by some of the ancestral lineage healers. So I'm going to be introducing these in my 3 webinars that are coming up. 2 of them are next week on the 27th and 28th of July, and 1 is the following week in the beginning of August, where I introduce you to different topics around ancestral lineage healing and working with energy and really starting to just take that first step into looking at your history, your military research in a totally different light and taking it to a much deeper level beyond names, dates, and places. Now, I think many of us do journal, and we use the journal maybe just as a way to brain dump. These are all the bad things that are happening in my life. But are we recording the good things? Are we recording the miraculous things? Are we recording the wishes that we have, the things we would like to manifest or create in this reality? Also, are you recording the messages that are coming through from your ancestors? I've been doing this for a very long time, almost 10 years, channeling the ancestors. And there are several different ways that you can do this. When I first learned how to do this, it was through Sonia Choquette's book, Ask Your Guides. And she has a chapter in there specifically on how to connect with your ancestors in this way. And I invite you to get the book because the whole book is really quite amazing. But in essence, you set a quiet space. Maybe you light some candles, incense, some meditative music, or something that just gets you into a calm mood. You get your journal or your piece of paper and you write a question at the top. And then you just sit and wait and see what comes through. And that has worked very well for me. And if you followed me for any length of time where I talk about journaling, you'll also know that I've used a writing prompt that I found, I don't know, in 2012 or 2013 that really took me to a time and space, my great-grandparents' house in Chicago in 1921. That's where it started. And using that writing prompt, I'm able to go back there and speak with my great-grandfather anytime I need to. So that was another way for me to connect. There might be different ways for you to connect through the writing and the channeling. Sometimes even just sitting in meditation allows information to come through. In fact, in the last 6 months, I've sat down to channel journal and I've gotten a very clear message that I just need to sit and let it come through. Instead of writing it and having the conversation that way, let it come through that way. And in those moments, it was absolutely the right thing to do because I needed to do a lot of emotional releasing. And it's very hard to write and cry at the same time. So in those instances, I have put the journal aside and just had the conversation with those that have shown up to be a part of it. So I invite you today to look at the ways you're using your journals and how often are you using them? What are you using to record them? Are you doing some morning pages where you basically get up in the morning and you just brain dump for 3 or 4 pages and just see what comes out? It's a great way to just let go of whatever happened the day before and overnight. And it's not something you have to go back and read. It's not something that has to make any sense. You do not have to edit as you go. You just brain dump. And sometimes even doing that before bed is a great way to just calm down before you go to sleep. So I invite you to try that also. But really look at how you're using your journals. And maybe go back and read some of the ones that you've kept. You know, I've kept numerous journals over the last decade, and some of them are for work, some of them are for personal, but the personal always seems to merge in with the work because I get ideas when I'm only carrying around my personal journal, so I have to record them. But my journals also come with a lot of pain and darkness of things that I have been moving through, especially since I started traveling and living in Europe. And one of the questions we always ask ourselves is, what do we do with these journals when we die? Or do we destroy them before we die? And I've considered burning several of the journals from the last 5-6 years, but there are lessons in there that I know my boys need to read. They also need to understand the things I went through with certain people that have been very important in my life. And they need to recognize some things that they have also been a part of that might change their perspective in the future, or might give them a better understanding of why things were the way they were. Often we wonder, why am I the way I am? Why were my parents the way they were? Why were my grandparents the way they were? Why do we have these beliefs and patterns? And we don't always have a journal to go back to and look at and read and try to understand. So that's one reason I haven't burned mine. There are a lot of lessons there for my boys to learn. And if they ever have children, my grandchildren to learn. So it's all a choice. But it is something to consider, especially if yours contain a lot of pain and darkness as you're moving through this dark night of the soul that so many of us have gone through, sometimes more than once or twice, just as we're this extra deep purging of letting go of all of these layers and beliefs and patterns and blocks and things that hold us back. So I invite you today to grab your journal and to see what comes through. And if you're interested in learning more about these new tools that I've developed around journaling and your ancestors and genealogy and military research, I invite you to go to the link in my bio and check out the 3 new webinars that I have coming up. There will be some other courses coming up later in August that will take these tools to a deeper level. And I think you might begin to see your genealogy and your military research and your own personal healing in a whole new light. So I invite you, take a look at the link in the bio. Also, there's some new blog posts up on my blog at Ancestral Souls Wisdom School. And the Ancestral Cafe membership has its first program in a couple of weeks, and you might not want to miss that. So I invite you to check it all out. Have a beautiful day.